Part 1. Be your own priority. Have you ever stopped? I mean really stopped and asked yourself, when was the last time I lived for me? Not for my job, not for my parents, my deadlines, or the next notification buzzing on my phone. Just me. Take a deep breath. Slow down for a second. You've been running for so long, chasing expectations, chasing approval, chasing everything and everyone but yourself. And now I ask you, how much longer can you keep going like this? We live in a time where noise is constant. Emails, messages, obligations, pressure. We're told that being always available, always busy, always producing is what success looks like. But let's be honest, that's a lie. Because when you don't make yourself a priority, you don't just fall behind, you disappear. You fade into the background of your own life, like a ghost in someone else's story. This video isn't about selfishness. It's about survival. It's about rediscovering your own value, refocusing your energy, and rebuilding from the inside out, using the timeless wisdom of Stoicism as your compass. If you don't take control of your life, someone else will. So I'll ask you again, will you finally wake up? Or will you keep sleepwalking through the life others have scripted for you? Let's begin. Let me tell you a story. My friend Gabriel was invisible, not in the supernatural sense, but in a way that's far more common and far more dangerous. At work, he was the first to show up and the last to leave. Always the helpful one. Always saying yes. Gabriel, could you stay late? Of course. Gabriel, can you handle this last-minute task? No problem. He was reliable, efficient, like a machine. Always on, always useful, always overlooked. At home, things weren't much different. His phone would ring and he'd drop everything for his parents, his siblings, his friends, rearranging, compromising, bending, all for others, never for himself. Years went by like this. Not one, not two, over a decade, and not once did he say no. But life keeps score, and one day, it demanded payment. In the middle of yet another endless meeting, a sudden pain struck his chest, sharp, alarming, but quiet. He brushed it off. Too much to do, too many things waiting. But the pain returned, again and again, until one afternoon, sitting at his desk, his vision blurred, and then everything went black. He woke up in a hospital bed. Stress, anxiety, severe exhaustion. The doctor didn't sugarcoat it. If you keep living this way, your body will make you pay for what your mind keeps ignoring. And that was his breaking point. For the first time in years, Gabriel looked in the mirror, not to fix his tie, not to check his emails, but to ask himself the one question he'd avoided his whole life. What if I stopped living for everyone else and started living for me? Gabriel's awakening began with a question. What if I stopped living for everyone else and started living for me? That question stayed with him. And that very night, the answer found him. He was lying in bed, mindlessly scrolling through videos, a nightly habit, like background noise for a tired mind. But then something different popped up on his screen, a video titled simply Stoicism. He had never heard of the term before, but something about it drew him in. He tapped play. In the video, there was a quote from Marcus Aurelius: "A man's life is what his thoughts make of it." Gabriel paused. Something in that line hit him, like truth cutting through fog. He rewound the video, played it again, and again. It felt like those words had been written just for him. A man's life is what his thoughts make of it. And just like that, the weight of his years began to shift. He realized the prison he'd lived in wasn't built by others. It was built by his own beliefs. He had believed that being useful was his only worth, that giving was more important than being. But in that moment, he saw clearly. His life didn't have to orbit around what others wanted. It could begin to revolve around what he needed. So he made a decision. From that day forward, Gabriel started applying the teachings of Stoicism, slowly, quietly, imperfectly. At first, it was awkward, even painful. The first time he said no to a request, his boss raised an eyebrow. When he stopped responding to work messages late at night, some co-workers talked behind his back. When he chose to put himself first, some people whispered that he'd changed, and not in a good way. But for the first time, Gabriel didn't care, because he had learned a truth that would shape the rest of his life. If you don't make yourself a priority, you'll become just an option for everyone but yourself. Now, his life is different. He still works, of course he does, but he works on his own terms. He still helps people, but not at the cost of his well-being. He made space for himself. He honored his own needs, and in doing so, he discovered something powerful. When you are whole inside, you can give more without breaking yourself to do it. Gabriel's story isn't rare. It's the silent story of thousands, maybe millions, who've forgotten something essential. Your life belongs to you, not to your inbox, not to your boss, not to the expectations of others. So now I ask you, how many times have you said yes when your soul screamed no? How often have you swallowed your needs just to avoid disappointing someone else? If you felt even a flicker of truth in Gabriel's story, stay with me, because we're just getting started. In this video, we'll challenge the mindset that keeps you small. You'll learn how to reclaim your time, protect your energy, and make yourself a priority, unapologetically, because no one's going to do it for you. That responsibility and power is yours. Before we dive deeper, if you're finding value here, consider subscribing and becoming a part of this journey. You'll gain access to exclusive content, community discussions, and a space where your growth is the goal. And tell us in the comments, are you someone who puts yourself first? Or do you often put your own needs last? Or simply type Stoic at heart? So we know you're walking this path with us. So many of us are like Gabriel, ready for change, but unknowingly tethered to the very distractions that keep us stuck. Let me ask you something. How many times today have you reached for your phone without even thinking? Let's be honest. It's not just in the morning. Throughout the entire day, every spare moment, you grab your phone. When you eat, when you walk, even when you're in the bathroom. You can't stand to be alone with your own thoughts for more than a few seconds. And I hate to break it to you, but this isn't just a bad habit. Your mind has been hijacked. Picture your attention like a pie, one you're supposed to enjoy, to use wisely. But instead, everyone else is lining up with a knife and fork. Social media, the news, advertisers, algorithms, each one carving off a piece of you. And they're not planning to stop. Even when there's nothing left, they don't want you focused. They don't want you disciplined. They definitely don't want you chasing your real goals. All they want is for you to stay distracted, consuming, addicted, hooked. Centuries ago, Epictetus said something chillingly relevant. If someone tried to hand over your body to a stranger, you'd be outraged. But you hand over your mind to anyone who passes by and allow them to mold it. And the scariest part, you don't even notice it happening. You tell yourself, I'm in control. It's just a few minutes. But is that true? When was the last time you went an entire day without checking your phone? When was the last time you sat down to focus, really focus, on something meaningful, without itching to check a notification every few minutes? If you're being honest, the answer might disturb you. Because no, you're not in control. They are. And while your mind is being pulled in 1,000 directions, your life stays still, unchanged, unfulfilled. But here's the thing. It's not 100% your fault. Neuroscientist Andrew Huberman explains that dopamine, the chemical responsible for motivation and reward, has been hijacked by modern technology. Every ping, every short video, every flashy headline, it lights up the same brain circuits as addiction. And just like any addiction, it strips you of control. Slowly, silently, your brain becomes wired for instant gratification. And the faster your brain gets used to being rewarded, the harder it becomes to sit still, to focus, to do anything that requires effort. Ever tried reading a book, studying, or working on a goal, and found yourself reaching for your phone without realizing it? That's not you lacking discipline. That's you being reprogrammed. But here's the good news. You can reclaim your focus. You can take back your mind. It starts with a simple decision to stop letting your attention be sold to the highest bidder. Yes, it sounds daunting, but it's not as scary as it seems. First, set boundaries. Try a dopamine detox. No, you don't have to throw your phone out the window, but you do need to make it work for you, not against you. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Use productivity apps that block distractions during key hours. There are countless free tools available if you're not using them. Maybe it's not ability you lack. It's willingness. Second, switch your brain to airplane mode mentally. That means not just putting your phone away, but learning to be fully present without it. And that's where real clarity begins. Reclaiming your focus isn't just about saying no to distractions. It's about saying yes to yourself, especially during the two most sacred windows of your day, the first hour when you wake up, and the last hour before you sleep. Those moments should belong to you, not to a screen, not to an algorithm. Use them with intention. Use them to invest in yourself. Instead of scrolling, try reading. Instead of watching meaningless content, try writing, planning, journaling, learning. Even 15 focused minutes in the morning can change the direction of your entire day. And here's another powerful tool from Stoicism, a simple but transformative question. Before you open an app, pause and ask, is this serving me or distracting me? Be honest. If it's distracting you, you already know what you need to do. Because either you control yourself or you'll be controlled. There is no middle ground. At the end of the day, focus is the real dividing line, the difference between those who turn their dreams into reality and those who just keep dreaming. And if you keep allowing the world to hijack your attention, then don't be surprised when your life stays exactly where it is. But if you take it back, if you master your mind, that's when you'll start building the only thing that truly matters, yourself. Part 2. You're wasting time without even realizing it. Let me ask you, and be brutally honest with yourself. How many times in the past week have you said, I don't have time, too busy, too exercise, too tired to read, no energy to start that creative project you've been dreaming about for years? Now let me ask you something else. How many times have you opened TikTok just for 5 minutes, and suddenly an hour's gone? How often do you tap on YouTube with no plan and end up watching a video about some ancient lost tribe? That has absolutely nothing to do with what you were supposed to be doing. Sound familiar? The truth is, the problem isn't that you don't have time. It's that you're giving it away without even realizing it. Marcus Aurelius once said that time is like a river. Once it flows past, you can never get it back, and he wasn't being poetic. He lived it, even as the Emperor of Rome, one of the busiest men in history. Marcus still made time to write, reflect, and strengthen his mind daily. He didn't waste his energy on meaningless distractions. To him, each day was a sacred opportunity for self-mastery, because he understood something that many of us ignore. Time doesn't pause, it doesn't wait, and it never returns. Here's where it gets painful. A study from the University of California found that the average person wastes 3 hours every single day on pointless distractions. That's right, 3 hours. Where does it go? Not into your dreams, not into your goals. It disappears into checking your phone for the 10th time, bouncing between tabs, watching irrelevant content, and getting pulled into conversations that drain you. Now do the math. That's over 1,000 hours a year. Gone. And what could you have done with that time? You could have written a book, started a business, learned a language, transformed your body, rewired your mind. But instead, you lost it. You could have read dozens of books. You could have built a business from the ground up. But instead, most people don't even notice the time slipping away, until one day they look back and wonder why their life still feels exactly the same. If you truly want to change your reality, you need to take control of your time, fully, deliberately, and focus it on what matters most. Yourself. Now imagine this. You decide to learn web design. You've done the research. You know it's a valuable skill that could open doors, maybe even give you the freedom to work independently or start something of your own. You're excited, motivated. You enroll in a great course. Everything is lined up. But that's when reality steps in. You finish work completely drained. You get home and think, I'll start the course after a quick rest. You reach for your phone, watch a few videos, scroll a bit, and before you know it, the evening disappears. Once again, another day gone, with no progress made. Sound familiar? This is where discipline must become strategy, not just good intentions. Start with something simple. Before going to bed, write down 3 key tasks for the next day. Not a long, overwhelming to-do list, just 3 clear actions. For example, watch the first lesson of the course, complete 1 practical exercise, review a few design examples for inspiration. If you do just those 3 things, the day is a win, period. And when it's time to begin, avoid falling into the motivation trap. Don't wait until you feel ready. Instead, apply the 5-minute rule. Tell yourself, I'll just do this for 5 minutes. If I want to stop after that, I can. But here's the secret. Once you start, momentum will almost always carry you forward. To keep distractions at bay, use what I call the Stoic Pomodoro method. Work in focused blocks, 25 minutes of uninterrupted effort. Then take a short 5-minute break. No phone checking, no just 1 message. You create a sacred focus window, one where progress is inevitable. And when that block ends, you'll actually feel it. You learned something. You moved forward. You respected your time. You invested in your future. Now, ask yourself, how will you use your time today? Write it in the comments. Tell us what you're going to focus on, because this isn't just your journey. It's ours too. And when we share our goals, we help each other stay accountable and inspired. Keep watching, because what's coming next might shift your entire perspective. 1 year from now, you could look back and say, that was the day everything changed. But if you keep putting it off, then 1 year from now, you'll still be right where you are now. The choice is yours. Part 3. Let the results speak. In a quiet room, dimly lit by the soft glow of afternoon light streaming through a small window, a man worked in silence. Hour after hour, he studied his canvas. He observed, adjusted, refined. Every brushstroke deliberate, every detail intentional. He wasn't rushing. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was focused on the craft, and only he understood the depth of what he was creating. Day after day, layer by layer, he added more. He worked with obsessive precision, studying the interplay of light, the structure of anatomy, the quiet nuance, in the way a smile forms on the human face. While other artists were proudly announcing their latest creations to the world, this man kept his work hidden. He wasn't chasing applause. He didn't need validation. All that mattered to him was the integrity of his craft. Weeks turned into months. Months into years. And then, after 4 full years, his masterpiece was complete. A mysterious smile. A blurred, atmospheric background. A technique so ahead of its time, it would change the history of art. Leonardo da Vinci had poured thousands of hours into creating what we now know as the Mona Lisa. No distractions, no boasting, no audience along the way. While others talked about what they were doing, he did it. While others sought attention, he sought excellence. And in complete silence, he made history. Now, I want to ask you something. What do you do? Do you declare your goals out loud before you've even taken the first step? Do you post about your intentions? Or do you let your results speak? Be honest. Has this ever happened to you? You feel fired up about a new project or goal. You announce it to friends. I'm going to start working out. I'm writing a book. I'm learning to invest. And then, nothing. Weeks pass. Months pass. And the excitement fades into silence. The goal remains untouched. The plan dissolves. But here's the twist. It's not because you're lazy. It's not even because you lack discipline. It's because your brain tricked you. Yes, really. Here's the science behind it. Every time you tell someone about your plans, your brain releases dopamine, the same feel-good chemical that activates when you actually achieve something. In other words, just by talking about your goal, your brain gets its reward early. It thinks the job is done, even when you haven't even started. That's why people talk endlessly about what they're going to do, but rarely follow through. They feel satisfied with the recognition, not with the actual progress. But do you know who didn't fall into this trap? Epictetus. He said, "Don't boast about what you're going to do. Do it, and let it show." And he meant every word. Epictetus lived a life of quiet determination. He didn't announce his plans. He didn't seek approval. He simply did the work and let the results speak for him. His power came not from attention, but from action. So let me ask again. How many times has this been your story? You decide that this time you're really going to get fit. You buy new workout clothes. You post your plans online. Friends cheer you on. You feel inspired. But when it's actually time to go to the gym, you don't. Why? Because your brain already got its dopamine hit without lifting a single weight. The same thing happens with any goal. Learning a language, starting a business, breaking old habits, creating new ones. When you talk about it too much, you trick yourself into staying exactly where you are. So, what's the solution? Go stealth. Don't announce what you're going to do. Announce what you've already done. Instead of saying, "I'm writing a book," write it. Let the world discover your manuscript after it's finished. Instead of posting about how you're changing if you're changing your body, your habits, your life, let people notice it. Not because you told them, but because the transformation speaks for itself. Now here's another tip. Reward yourself, but quietly. We all crave motivation. That's normal. But instead of looking for likes or applause, find personal victories along the way. Celebrate. Even if it's just in your own heart. When you stick to your routine for a full week. When you complete a chapter. When you finally finish that project you've been delaying. Because the deep, quiet satisfaction of real progress is worth infinitely more than 1,000 hollow compliments. And finally, the mirror test. Before chasing approval from others, ask yourself, did I actually make progress today? If the answer is yes, then no one else needs to know. If the answer is no, then don't talk, don't post, just get back to work. At the end of the day, it really does come down to two paths, talking or doing. Stop announcing your intentions. Start focusing on your execution. And let the results speak louder than anything you could ever say. Part 4. Surround yourself with Jon Snow. Let's talk about something just as important as focus. Your environment. Imagine if your success in life depended 95% on the people you spend the most time with. Sounds extreme, right? But according to a long-term study by Harvard University, that's not an exaggeration. It's reality. Your social circle is one of the most powerful and most overlooked factors in your success. And when you stop to think about it, it makes perfect sense. Imagine spending your days surrounded by people who constantly complain, people who dwell on drama, blame the world, and laugh at the idea of self-improvement. How long before you start thinking just like them? This isn't magic. It's neuroscience. Our brains are designed to mirror the voices around us. If negativity is all you hear, it slowly becomes all you believe. And if the people closest to you have never dared to push beyond their comfort zone, what are the odds you'll break free of yours? Seneca understood this deeply. He once said, "We become those with whom we associate." Now picture Seneca, a great philosopher of ancient Rome. What if he'd spent all his time with men who only cared about parties, money, and meaningless pleasures? Would he still have become the mind we quote centuries later? Of course not, because the people around us shape us, either into giants or into ghosts. As motivational speaker Daniel Habib puts it, surround yourself with spiritual giants, not mental dwarfs. And no, we're not talking about physical height. We're talking about mental strength, vision, integrity, drive. When you're around people with ambition, people who strive to grow, people who challenge themselves, their energy rubs off on you. They stretch you, push you, they force you to level up. But surround yourself with those who have no curiosity, no dreams, no growth mindset. It's like tying a rock around your neck while trying to swim. Now imagine this. You've made the decision to change. You've set goals. You're motivated. You're ready. But every time you take a step forward, your environment pulls you 2 steps back. You say, "I'm starting a workout routine." And what do they say? Don't overdo it. Life's meant to be enjoyed. You bring up a project you're excited about. And what do they say? Don't get your hopes up. That won't work. And little by little, that negativity seeps in. Suddenly, your confidence wavers. Your clarity fades. You begin to doubt not just the plan, but yourself. But listen, this isn't about cutting off all your friends or ghosting your entire social circle overnight. It's not about judgment. It's about awareness. It's about recognizing who is influencing your mindset. Who are you letting into your mental space? Because if you truly want to grow, you have to start filtering your environment. Take a step back and observe. Who inspires you? Who motivates you to dream bigger? Who challenges your thinking and makes you curious about life again? Spend more time with those people. Now maybe you're thinking, "I don't have anyone like that around me." That's okay. Start by finding them. Join a community. Attend a workshop. Watch long-form interviews with people who've already walked the path you want to be on. And if you can't meet them in person, no problem. Start digitally. Surround yourself with the voices of people who are already where you want to go. And, just as importantly, Learn to say no to draining conversations. No to commitments that waste your energy. No to habits and people that drag you further from your goals. Because every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying no to your own progress. And if right now you feel like you don't have a strong support system, start by building a virtual circle. Books, podcasts, documentaries, long-form YouTube channels. You can sit at the feet of the greatest minds in the world, even if you've never met them. Because when you fill your mind with greatness, eventually you start thinking like it. Let me give you an example. If you spend time with people who work out regularly, chances are, at some point, you'll start taking better care of your body. Hang out with entrepreneurs, and soon you'll find yourself thinking in terms of opportunity and value. Spend enough time around readers, and even if you didn't grow up loving books, you'll start to absorb their curiosity and their knowledge. Your environment shapes your habits, and your habits shape your destiny. So ask yourself this. Are the people around you bringing you closer to the person you want to become, or pulling you further away? Because if they're not lifting you up, chances are they're holding you down. Don't wait for your circle to change. Be the one who changes first. Be your own priority, and build a space, internal and external, that pushes you forward. Part 5. Practice mental minimalism. Now let's talk about your inner world. Picture your mind like a desk, a space where you're supposed to work, think, and create. But imagine that desk is cluttered, completely covered in junk. Stacks of old papers, crumpled sticky notes, cold coffee cups, receipts from 3 months ago. There's no room to move, no space to breathe, and worst of all, you feel overwhelmed. Before you even begin, that's exactly what your mind looks like when it's overloaded with noise. Every time you scroll through angry comment sections, every time you read alarmist news headlines, every time you engage in gossip or emotional clickbait, bam, another useless file gets dumped on your mental desk. Crash, another pile of chaos you now have to wade through. Every time you let in another piece of useless information, you add one more layer of emotional clutter. Plop, a new worry lands in your mind, one that isn't even yours. And then you wonder why you can't concentrate, why your motivation disappears, why your priorities seem so foggy. Let me be real with you. Your head looks like a desk hit by a hurricane. And the worst part, you don't even realize it. You've grown so used to the noise, the endless scroll, the constant outrage, the barrage of updates, that you think it's normal. You tell yourself that keeping up with every political scandal, every world crisis, and every social media debate makes you informed, that you're aware, that you're intelligent. But ask yourself honestly, does it actually help you? Or are you just filling your mind with things you can't control, while completely neglecting the one thing you can, your own life? Epictetus understood this long ago. He said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." The richest person isn't the one who has the most. It's the one who needs the least. And that truth doesn't just apply to money. It applies to your mind. The more pointless desires you carry, the more mental clutter you accumulate, the harder it becomes to stay clear present, and focused. Now imagine this. You wake up. Before you even sit up in bed, your phone is already in your hand. You open X or Twitter. The first thing you see is a heated political argument. You switch to Instagram. Someone flaunting a perfectly filtered life, making you feel behind before your day even begins. Then the news, another economic crash, another war, another crisis from the other side of the world. And meanwhile, you haven't even made your bed. Without realizing it, you're already overloaded. Your peace is gone. Your anxiety rises. You start to believe that the world is spiraling, when in truth, the only thing spiraling is your attention. This was exactly what happened to filmmaker and content creator Matt Devella. He noticed he was constantly tense, distracted, drained. And it wasn't his work. It wasn't his routine. It was the news. The endless consumption of fear, conflict, and outrage. So he decided to do something bold. 1 full year without news. No TV, no newspapers, no Twitter threads. He even told his wife not to tell him anything unless it was absolutely critical. And the result? His anxiety plummeted. His focus sharpened. He had more time and more peace to build the life he actually cared about. And the most surprising part, at the end of the year, he realized he hadn't missed anything important. The essential news, the things that truly mattered, still reached him. That experiment proved something powerful. You don't have to be hyper-connected to stay informed. In fact, constant connection may be the very thing keeping you stuck. So, how do you begin decluttering your mental desk? Start with this. The rule of 3 filters. Before you let a worry take root in your mind, pause and ask yourself 3 questions. Does this directly affect me? Can I do anything about it? Is it truly important in my life? If your answer to all 3 filters is no, let it go. Don't let your mind become a dumping ground for information that drains your energy without giving you anything in return. The truth is, most people are burdened by worries that aren't even their own thoughts and fears planted by an overstimulated, noisy world. So here's what to do. First, if you truly want to reclaim your focus, stop consuming news like it's oxygen. You don't need to know about every political scandal or global tragedy the moment it breaks. Your mind wasn't built to absorb the misery of the entire world. Not without consequence. You're human. You feel things. And if you overload your emotional circuits, you will shut down. You'll burn out. You'll lose touch with your own life. And trust me, if something truly important happens, you'll hear about it. Second, replace toxic input with quality information. Instead of drowning in gossip, outrage, and anxiety, ask yourself, how can I invest this time instead? Maybe it's reading a book that teaches you something valuable. Maybe it's learning a new skill, or quietly making progress on a personal project. Because here's the truth. A clear mind leads to a clear life. So now I ask you, how much mental clutter have you been carrying? Because until you clean up your internal space, you'll never be able to focus on what really matters. Part 6. Does it make you uncomfortable? Good. Then you're on the right path. Let's talk about something most people run from: discomfort. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you did something that truly made you uncomfortable? And no, I'm not talking about trying a new restaurant or watching a weird Netflix documentary. I mean something that really pushed you. Something that scared you just enough to make your heart race. When was the last time you spoke in front of a crowd, even though your hands were trembling? When did you last wake up at 5 a.m., not because you had to, but because you chose to work on something that matters deeply to you? When was the last time you faced a fear instead of running from it? Because here's the truth. If you're not doing things that make you uncomfortable, you're not growing. Most people misunderstand discomfort. They treat it like a warning sign, a flashing red light saying, "Stop, danger, turn back." But it's not a warning, it's a compass. Discomfort points toward the exact direction you need to go. That moment of hesitation, that resistance in your chest, that's not weakness. That's the sound of you brushing up against your next level. So if you never feel discomfort, it doesn't mean you're thriving. It means you haven't even started walking. And look, I know you avoid discomfort. You know how I know. Because we all do. It's human. We crave the safe, the easy, the predictable. We say we want to grow, but we don't want to feel pain. We say we want to change, but not if it costs comfort. We say we want success, but without effort. But it doesn't work that way. As Epictetus would tell you, don't wish things were easier. Wish you were stronger. The Stoics knew this. They never ran from the fire. They stood in it. Because discomfort isn't punishment. It's refinement. It's the forge where strength is born. Their goal wasn't to avoid the hard things. It was to face them head on. Knowing every obstacle overcome made them wiser, tougher, better. The real problem isn't that life is hard. The real problem is that you're waiting for it to become easy before you even begin. But that day will never come. Still not convinced? Then look at the story of David Blaine, the world-famous illusionist. When he decided to break the world record for holding his breath, he wasn't some kind of superhuman. He didn't have magic lungs or supernatural powers. What he did have was an unbreakable mindset. He trained, day after day, to withstand 17 full minutes without oxygen. 17 minutes. Now tell me, if that's not facing discomfort head-on, what is? David didn't wake up one day with that ability. He built it. He earned it. He learned to suppress panic, to control his heart rate, to override the voice in his head screaming, "Breathe." And after enduring extreme physical and mental suffering, he broke the record. You might be thinking, well, that's David Blaine. That's not me. But here's the truth. You can do it too. Not that specific feat, but your own version of it. Why? Because science backs you up. Neuroscientist Wendy Suzuki explains that when you deliberately face discomfort, your brain adapts. It forms new neural connections. It strengthens pathways of resilience. You literally reprogram yourself to become stronger, clearer, and more capable. But here's the flip side. If you always avoid discomfort, if you always pick the easy route, you're training your brain to give up before you even begin. So ask yourself right now, are you ready to start using discomfort as fuel instead of fear? Because every single day, life gives you two choices. Do what's comfortable, or do what helps you grow. Which one will you choose? Discomfort won't knock on your door. You have to go out and find it. Try this. Wake up 1 hour earlier than usual. What's the worst that could happen? You gain time for yourself. Enjoy. Shower with cold water. Just 10 seconds. Can you handle it? Spoiler. You can. Read one page in another language, even if you struggle. And that message you've been avoiding? That person you've hesitated to reach out to? Send it now. It doesn't matter what the challenge is. What matters is that you stop running from it. Because every time you choose effort, you build strength. Now here's another crucial truth. Learn to distinguish between pain and growth. Quitting something because it's difficult is not the same as quitting because it's harmful. The pain of effort is temporary, but the regret of never trying, that sticks with you forever. And lastly, and this may be the hardest part, learn to be grateful for discomfort. Yes, grateful. The next time you feel resistance, tension, awkwardness, don't complain. Tell yourself, this is a sign I'm moving in the right direction. Every discomfort you conquer expands your identity. Every effort reinforces your self-worth. Every moment of discipline brings you one step closer to the life you want. So let me ask you now, what was the last thing you did that truly pushed you out of your comfort zone? Tell us in the comments. Share your story, because someone else might need that spark of courage to. Part 7. Not everything deserves your energy. No. Listen closely, because this next story might just change the way you think about where you place your attention. There was once an old man, quiet and wise, who lived in a small village. He was known for something rare. His unshakable calm. No matter what happened, no matter the chaos around him, he never lost his composure. But then one day, a young man, frustrated by his own emotions, overwhelmed by frustration and bitterness in his own life, decided to test the old man's legendary calm. He approached him in public and without hesitation began shouting insults. "You're a useless old man. Your words mean nothing. People only listen to you because they have nothing better to do." His voice dripped with contempt. He was ready to watch the old man explode, to see his composure crack. But the old man didn't react. He didn't even blink. Instead, with a soft smile and a calm gaze, he looked the young man in the eyes and asked a single question. If someone offers you a gift, but you don't accept it, who does the gift still belong to? The young man frowned, confused by the question. "Well, to the person who offered it," he replied hesitantly. The old man nodded. "Exactly. And the same goes for anger, envy, and hatred. If you don't accept them, they still belong to the one who brings them." And then he added gently, "I have more important things to give my energy to." The young man stood in stunned silence. He had spent his life believing every insult required a response. Every provocation deserved retaliation. But here stood the old man, untouched, unbothered, as if the storm had passed right through him without leaving a scratch. And this, my friend, is the key. The old man understood what Marcus Aurelius taught centuries ago. If something external disturbs you, it's not the thing itself that's the problem. It's your judgment of it. An insult only has power if you pick it up. A negative comment only wounds you if you carry it inside. The energy you waste fighting others is energy you could be using to build yourself. So be honest. How many times have you poured your energy into things that don't actually matter? You argue on social media over a post that's not even yours. You get upset because your neighbor parked a few inches into your space, even though it changes nothing about your life. You let a broken elevator ruin your morning when taking the stairs might actually be good for you. And then, when it's finally time to focus on your goals, your growth, your peace, you have nothing left. You're drained. Think of your attention like a flashlight. Wherever you point it, your energy follows. If you shine it constantly on trivial problems, petty conflicts, and imaginary threats, you'll run out of light when it's time to illuminate your real path. So if you want to become your own priority, you have to manage your energy as if it's what it truly is, a limited, sacred resource. Here's how. First, apply the 30-second rule. When something irritates you, a comment, a delay, a rude stranger, don't react instantly. Pause. Breathe. Count to 30. Ask yourself, is this really worth my time and energy? If the answer is no, let it go. Move on. Reclaim your peace. Second, practice strategic indifference. No, ignoring something doesn't make you weak. In fact, it's one of the greatest signs of intelligence. Not everything deserves your reaction. Not everything is worth your attention. When someone tries to provoke you, ask, do I really need to engage with this? And 90% of the time, the answer will be no. And third, learn to let go. If something won't matter 5 years from now, don't spend more than 5 minutes worrying about it. Seriously, pause and think about how many times you've lost sleep, gotten anxious, or felt overwhelmed over things that, days later, you didn't even remember. Life is too short, and your energy too valuable, to waste on what's irrelevant. So now imagine this. If your energy were cryptocurrency, limited, valuable, and constantly traded, what would you invest it in today? Would you waste it on arguments, on gossip, on social media battles and imagined offenses? Or would you invest it in building something real, something lasting, something that's actually yours? Because if you keep spending it on distractions and complaints, then when the time finally comes to focus on yourself, you'll find your account empty. Part 8. Learn to be alone. Solitude. Just the word makes some people uncomfortable. Being alone, facing yourself, sitting with your own thoughts, it can feel scary, can't it? But what if I told you it's not just powerful, it's a secret weapon? Some of the greatest minds in history used it to their advantage. And no, it doesn't require talent. It's not complicated, but it is rare. Take Nikola Tesla. Yes, he was a genius. Yes, he revolutionized the world. But his true secret wasn't just intelligence. It was solitude. He spent hour after hour in deep introspection. No distractions, no noise, no endless digital chatter. Just him, his mind, and the silence in between. And in that silence, genius was born. Tesla knew what many people today have forgotten. The mind is sharpest and most creative in uninterrupted solitude. So let me ask you, when was the last time you were truly alone? Not just away from people. I mean alone with nothing, no phone, no music, no podcasts, just you. The truth is, most people don't know how to be alone anymore. Worse, they run from it. Like it's something dangerous. As if, once the silence sets in, some dark version of themselves might emerge, like Dr. Jekyll, afraid of unleashing Mr. Hyde. But let me be clear, there's no monster inside you. There are only parts of yourself you've been avoiding. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to finally bring them into the light. Because if you don't enjoy your own company, how can you expect anyone else to? The Stoics understood this long before smartphones ever existed. Seneca said it clearly. Nothing is more powerful than a mind that relies on itself. What did he mean? That if you constantly need attention, noise, or validation, if silence scares you, if you can't face your own thoughts without distraction, then you're not free, you're not at peace, you're not in control, you're just a prisoner of stimulation. And don't think that's an exaggeration. A study from the University of Virginia proved it in the most brutal way. Researchers put people in a quiet room and gave them two options: sit alone with their thoughts for 15 minutes, or give themselves mild electric shocks. The result? Most people chose the shocks. That's how uncomfortable we've become with silence, with ourselves. So let me ask you, what would you have chosen? Think about that. Today, society sees solitude as something sad. You see someone eating alone at a restaurant, and the common thought is, poor guy, no friends. But what if that person isn't lonely? What if that person is free? Free from needing validation, free from constant noise, free to enjoy their own company. Because when someone feels complete, truly complete, they don't need to depend on anyone else to feel okay. If you never learn to be alone, you will never be your own priority. You'll always be waiting for messages, likes, validation, noise, anything to avoid being with just yourself. And here's the worst part. The longer you avoid solitude, the more terrifying it becomes. The silence grows louder. The discomfort deepens. But here's something simple you can try, starting today. Have a silent day. Dedicate one entire day just to yourself, free from outside stimulation. Turn off your notifications. Leave your headphones at home. Go for a walk. No podcast. No music. No scrolling. Just you. Now, if you've never done this before, be ready. It might feel strange, even uncomfortable. That's okay. Lean into it. And if you're ready for something even more powerful, do something alone, on purpose. Go to the movies by yourself. Sit in a cafe alone. Take a day trip with no company, no one to talk to, just your own presence. Then observe how you feel. At first, it may feel awkward, maybe even painful. But soon, surprisingly, you'll discover something profound. Once you learn to be at peace in your own company, you'll start needing other people a lot less. In fact, you might even find it harder to be around noise, small talk, or shallow interactions. And if solitude still feels too difficult, that's a sign. A sign it's time to ask yourself, who am I when no one is watching? Do I enjoy being with myself? Or do I use distractions to avoid the truth? Learning to be alone isn't a punishment. It's a privilege, because once you truly enjoy your own company, you stop chasing validation. You stop depending on outside noise to feel alive. And for the first time, you become your own center, your own compass, your own sanctuary. That's when your real life begins. So ask yourself, will you keep running from solitude, or will you use it to become stronger, calmer, more focused, and more unstoppable than ever? Part 9. Train your mind. Let's talk about another form of strength, one that's invisible, but vital. Your mind. If you stop training a muscle, what happens? It shrinks, it weakens, it softens. Now tell me, what do you think happens if you stop training your mind? Exactly. It fills with noise, with distractions, with automatic thoughts and emotional clutter. Instead of working for you, it starts working against you. Marcus Aurelius said it best. Your mind will take the shape of what you habitually think. As your thoughts are, so will your life be. And he didn't say that as poetry or philosophy. He lived it, while other emperors were drowning in power, ego, vanity, or fear. Marcus trained his mind like a warrior sharpens his sword. Every morning, he wrote in his journal. He reinforced the thoughts he wanted to shape his reality: patience, discipline, clarity. Before making decisions, he asked, am I acting from emotion or from reason? And when the pressure of ruling an empire threatened to break him, he returned to the core truth. I can only control my thoughts and my actions, nothing else. He didn't wait for mental strength to appear on its own. He built it every day. Now let me ask you, if the most powerful emperor in history needed to train his mind daily, why do you think you don't need to? And I'm not saying this as a theory. I'm saying it from experience. Because for a long time, I made everyone else the priority. When someone asked for help, I dropped what I was doing. If a message came through, I replied immediately, even in the middle of something important. No matter what I was working on, I always put others first. And let me tell you, my friend, it took a toll on me. Always answering, always available, always saying yes. I was slowly erasing myself, one small compromise at a time. So now, I'm doing the hard but necessary work. I'm training my mind to focus on me. And let me be honest with you, it's not easy. I've started setting small challenges for myself. If my sister texts me while I'm in deep focus, I don't reply right away. I wait just 10 minutes. I stay with my task, even though I'm tempted, even though guilt creeps in. Because I remind myself, if I want to achieve my goals, I must be my priority. You know what else I've started doing? I plan my day before anyone else gets a say in it. Before I start filling my calendar with favors or obligations, I block out time for my goals, my growth. If a request doesn't fit into that plan, it doesn't make the cut. And I do this because I've learned something important. If you don't train your mind, the world will train it for you. And trust me, It won't train it for your success. It will train you to be reactive, distracted, passive. It will turn your focus into a free resource for everyone else to use. I don't want that to happen to you. So here are 3 powerful tips to start training your mind today. 1. Create a mantra, something short, clear, and personal. Something like, my time is valuable. If I don't take care of myself, no one else will. Write it down. Stick it on your mirror. Repeat it every morning until it becomes your new default thought. 2. Do focus exercises. Read without checking your phone every 5 minutes. Write something by hand, even if it's just one idea a day. Solve puzzles. Meditate. Practice single tasking. Train your brain to sit with one thing, and only one thing, at a time. 3. Start putting space between yourself and others' demands. When someone asks for something, don't say yes immediately. Pause, breathe, and ask yourself, does this fit into my day? Or am I just saying yes out of habit? Because if you don't set boundaries, your time, energy, and attention will always belong to someone else, and that's not freedom. So I ask you now, are you going to let society dictate the course of your life? Or will you take the reins and make your mind your greatest strength? Because there's one thing, one truth, that separates people who try from people who actually succeed. They don't wait. They don't hesitate. They don't overthink. Part 10. Just do it. You've seen the phrase. You've heard it in commercials. It's printed on t-shirts and worn by champions. Just do it. And maybe you shrugged it off as just a slogan, a marketing line for sneakers. But it's more than that. It's a mindset, a way of life. Because the truth is, most people never achieve their goals. Not because they're untalented, not because they're unworthy, but because they never start. So let me ask you, how many times have you told yourself, I'll start working out next week. I'm going to eat healthier soon. I'll learn that language eventually. I'll launch my business when the timing is right. And yet, here you are, still waiting, still hoping for the perfect moment, the day you feel ready. But here's the uncomfortable truth. That moment is never coming. Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin, knows this better than anyone. His number 1 rule for success? Say yes before you're ready. Because if you wait until everything is perfect, until you know every step, you'll wait forever. He's shared openly how he's jumped into projects with no clue how they'd turn out, and that, right there, is the key. Success isn't about being perfect. It's about taking action, imperfect, messy, courageous action. And the Stoics, they knew this long before any modern entrepreneur ever did. Epictetus wasn't a guru who spent his life talking about what he was going to do. He just did it. That's why one of his clearest teachings was this: don't explain your dreams, make them happen. Because no matter how much you talk about your goals, no matter how carefully you plan, how deeply you analyze every detail, none of that moves you forward. Only action does. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you want to learn how to play the guitar. You spend hours watching videos on technique. You compare guitar brands. You research which strings are best for beginners. But at the end of the day, how many times have you actually touched the guitar? How many times have you placed your fingers on the strings and made a sound? Exactly. Zero. This is where Newton's first law of motion kicks in. And yes, it applies to your life, too. An object at rest tends to stay at rest. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. If you wait until you feel ready, you'll stay stuck. But if you take one small step, even if it's awkward, messy, or uncertain, you create momentum. And momentum keeps you going. So, what's the right approach? Less theory, more action. Learn just enough to get started and start. If you want to play guitar, don't spend 5 hours comparing tutorials. Buy a basic model, the best you can afford, and start strumming. Can you only dedicate 15 minutes a day? Perfect. That's enough to learn a few chords. That's enough to begin. And remember this, no one starts out as an expert. The best musicians once played terribly. The greatest writers filled pages with mistakes. The fastest athletes once tripped over their own feet. So what? Start, mess up, get better. Keep going. Because in the end, the only thing that really matters is this. Do you do what you say, or do you keep waiting? You can spend your life preparing for the perfect moment, or you can move now and build in silence. So, I'll ask you, one last time, are you going to keep waiting, or are you going to make it happen? Making yourself a priority isn't selfish. It's an act of responsibility. Because if you don't take control of your life, someone else will. Don't wait. Don't delay. Every single day is a chance to focus on yourself, to work in silence, to turn discipline into your greatest investment. It's not about speed. It's about forward motion. It's about becoming stronger with every small decision, with every act of effort, with every distraction you choose to ignore. Because life doesn't reward the ones who think about it. It rewards the ones who do it. If you've made it this far, write in the comments, I'm going to focus only on myself. That way, we'll know who the true Stoic warriors are, the ones who stayed with us until the very end. And if you found meaning in this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell like this video so you never miss what's coming next. We also invite you to explore the Stoic Capsule playlist. On screen now, it's full of powerful stories, practical wisdom, and timeless lessons to help you live with more courage, discipline, and clarity. Click it. And let's keep growing together. Until next time, take care and keep embracing your inner Stoic.